Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with random reviews from the Overflow room. And today we are talking about Rimsky-Korsakov as we continue to go backwards through the alphabet. We have one more Rimsky video after this, and then we will be even further along or further back in the letter R. So here is our clump for the day, this clump. And there's all kinds of stuff in here, operas and orchestral works and juicy bits. First, we begin with yet another Scheherazade and Capriccio Espagnol with Rostropovich and the Orchestre de Paris. This was one of the old EMI Rostropovich edition, which probably ought to be boxed up again at some point. But, you know, the performances in it weren't fabulous. They were good, they were okay, but Rostropovich was sort of finding his sea legs as a conductor still, at least in the West. And yeah, you could do better. I mean, that's the bottom line. I kept it because it's Rostropovich. I mean, he was such a great musician, and sometimes things happen that are kind of interesting. Then we have the Ulme, the classic Ulme Scheherazade. Now, he recorded it a few times. This was the one with the Orchestre de la Suisse Romande, and it comes with Antar. I love Antar. Antar is beautiful, and it's kind of a rehearsal for Scheherazade. This performance of Antar isn't as good as the Scheherazade, actually, but it's okay. It includes Decca's first classical stereo recording, which was Antar, believe it or not. Oh my goodness, from 1954. Yeah, it sounds it, quite frankly. It's a little grotty. It was me sort of jiggling this thing here. All right, let me not jiggle. Then we've got this thing, Enrique Batiz with the London it's the Philharmonia, pardon me, on Naxos, along with the Tsar Sultan Suite. It does not include the Flight of the Bumblebee. These were exciting. Remember, there's the Respighi tone poems and a few other things that Batiz did in London at this time. And this is just a take no prisoners, slam, bam, wham, cram, thank you, ma'am, like, whoa, it just knocks the socks off the piece. It's really quite exciting. Then we've got Saiazawa and the Chicago Symphony with the Borodin Polovtsian dances on EMI. Frankly, his RCA recordings were a bit more exciting. But again, I mean, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. It gets the job done, and he recorded this a few times too. You know, everyone seems to do Scheherazade more than once because, well, you can't ever have too many of them. And because, you know, it's one of those works that's supposed to be like a sonic spectacular. And for that reason, whenever a new recording technology or new record label with some new recording technology or some excuse for doing it comes along, everyone does Scheherazade. So there's never been any shortage of them. They just keep making them. Then we have this thing this was Paranoia, as the label was called. No, Panorama, pardon me, the DG Panorama series. It was called Paranoia in the business because the people behind it were not known for their open-mindedness when they got criticized. So we began to call it Paranoia. So this is the Karajan Berlin Scheherazade, which I've never particularly cared for. It has great strings, and it's otherwise, for me anyway, it wasn't too special. Lauren Mazel Berlin Capriccio Espagnol, quite exciting. Ashkenazi in the Philharmonia doing the Flight of the Bumblebee, the Markevich Concerto about Russian Easter Overture. Whoa, baby, that's a thriller. Oh my goodness. Then we have, let's see, the Tweet from the Tsar Sultan, yes, with Ashkenazi in the Philharmonia, and Antar with Yarvi in Gothenburg. Also a fairly colorless performance, probably because of the edition that they used. It wasn't the most flamboyant. There were like 4 different editions of Antar. Rimsky kept revising and revising and revising. And you can tell that he was never going to get it entirely satisfactory because the music is wonderful. I mean, I love Antar. It's a wonderful piece. But the second movement, particularly Anger, which has some fairly non-functioning contrapuntal writing and whatnot, it just doesn't quite do it. Although when you use the tam-tam part, it actually helps, but it's not in this one. And then we have the Golden Cockerel Suite with Markevich and Lamoureux, which is a knockout. So it's a mixed bag, as many of those releases were. Oh, and this is fun. This is Manuel Rosenthal with the Orchestre de l'Opéra de Paris. You know, he did Ravel and Debussy orchestral works in the same label. This was on Hades, and it sort of got reissued in various ways. But you've got The Flight of the Bumblebee, the Russian Easter Overture, The Night on Bald Mountain by Mussorgsky, Tchaikovsky Capriccio Italien, and Borodin in the Steppes of Central Asia. Rosenthal was a wonderful conductor of the old French style, and these were terrific performances. They really were wonderful recordings. Then we've got, what's this one? Oh yes, Boston Symphony and Saiazawa doing Scheherazade. Well, I like the Boston one here on DG better than the Chicago one, quite frankly, and the Capriccio Espagnole with Gothenburg and Nimi Yarvi. It's a little incestuous, you know. You get to couple and recouple and decouple and, you know, all of these things a million times. Macaris, yes, with the London Symphony. This is first rate. Macaris, of course, is first rate in just about everything he did. It's exciting. It's on Telarc. Not the most flashy recording from Telarc, actually, sonically. It's good. It's very good. But it's not one of those, you know, powerhouse, you know, blow your speakers out and knock you through the back wall and get your neighbors complaining type recordings. And the Capriccio Espagnole. But the performances are always, you know, Macaris musical and wonderful and first class. And then we've got a couple operas. Yes! Snegorotchka, or Sniegorochka, or however you do it in Russian. The Snow Maiden. This is the complete Snow Maiden with Vladimir Fedosiev and all sorts of Russian people. The Snegorotchka herself is Valentina Sokolik, and Irina Arkhipova is the Spring Fairy, and Lydia Sakharenko is Kupava, and it doesn't really help to tell you who these people are, does it? This was Musical Heritage Society. They were licensed from FPRK Künstlerleben Foundation. Well, I don't know what that is, and I don't care. The point is that you couldn't get Rimsky-Korsakov operas, really, and having them on Musical Heritage Society was wonderful. And there's another one here, too, May Night, which isn't as fun to say as Snegorotchka. But, you know, it's nice to have here. And let's see, who's this one got in it? Oh, it's got lots of Russian people, right? It's got Gennady Troitsky as the clerk. Isn't that handy? The mayor, Alexei Krivchenya. And Levko, his son, is Konstantin Lisovsky. And the sister-in-law is Anna Matyushina. Okay, well, a maiden transformed by a spell into a Rusalka is Olga Pastushenko. A Rusalka is an Ondine. Does that help you? No, it's one of those water sprites that seduces men to their deaths. So yeah, we get May Night. I never liked May Night as much as the other operas. It's a fairy tale opera, but the overture always bored me. Actually, one of the reasons I got it, because I wanted to hear what happened after the overture and see if it was better, and it is. Trust me. Once you get past the overture, you're in pretty good shape. Anyway, that's Rimsky, this clump of Rimsky, and there's one more clump of Rimsky to come. So keep on listening, friends, and thanks for joining me. Take care.